This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Griffin. I'm the founder and CEO of Cloosiv, and we are building an order ahead app for local coffee shops. We've built this product because despite Starbucks validating the entire coffee market by building the most successful payment app in the US, no replicable solution has emerged to level the playing field on behalf of the 55,000 independent shops that are collectively processing over 15 billion every year. So we launched in January last year, and we've grown to support nearly 300 locations while maintaining 60% monthly growth of active users and revenue. We've achieved this early traction in part because we've entered this validated market largely unattested, but we've also built a product that's incredibly easy to use. It takes less than 5 minutes for coffee shops to set up, and again, thanks to Starbucks, our users inherently understand the value of ordering ahead for their coffee. We've also streamlined distribution by partnering with companies like Square, Oracle, and La Colombe Roasters, and we've implemented a flat rate pricing model where we charge our coffee shops between $3 and $23 monthly per location. This allows us to avoid very expensive density-driven adoption that's often associated with a standard percent per transaction model, and instead distribute the product wherever demand exists. The team building Cloosiv is comprised of myself and James Burkhardt. I spent 5 years as a management consultant, supporting Fortune 500 companies and leading sales efforts for a top 5 firm account, while James spent 6 years at a development agency. He built dozens of web and mobile apps for companies like the NFL, Disney, and even a Midwestern coffee chain. We raised an angel round of $300,000 in April 2017, and we're currently raising a seed round. It's a $550,000 convertible note with a $3 million valuation cap. We've secured 25% of the funds and are actively finalizing commitments from other investors. We have a close date set for January 15th. If you're interested in learning more about how we're building a billion-dollar competitor to the Starbucks behemoth, please feel free to reach out. Right on time.
Okay. Tim, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, so real quick, the round you're raising?
$550,000 convertible note.
And what was the valuation cap?
$3 million.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of the pitch, I don't know, I couldn't see the time, the sound, but I think you finished early as well.
Right on time.
Right on time, perfect, well rehearsed. So for me, just as quick hits, I thought you provided a lot of content there, right? Who you are, what's the problem? I think a question that came to my mind for you is, you said there's 55,000 basically independent coffee operator establishments across the United States outside of Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, okay. So how, from your early selling learnings, are you having to go to coffee shop by coffee shop or coffee shop? I know where do you find that repeatability where one gets you 10, gets you 100, and that type of thing?
Yeah, and that's what we're focused on with these partnerships. So we're wrapping up an integration with Square as we speak, a week away, where we'll actually launch on a new platform-based service they're offering to all of their merchants, and we'll be able to start targeting coffee shops within the equivalent of an app store, right, on your phone. And they'll also provide us with the details around who they support within that market. La Colombe Roasters is another good example. They're the largest independent distributor in the country for beans. So we can tap into their network and start to integrate the sales approach into their pitch. They already have relationships with these coffee shops. So anywhere that we can maintain a lean sales team because we're establishing partnerships, we'll take advantage of that.
Are you signing, what's your contract with an individual coffee shop? One-on-one, or what's that?
Yeah, so it's one-on-one, but we have an enterprise tier. So we're about to close on a 45 location chain that will have a different tier of our pricing model, just a little bit more expensive, naturally.
Business owners doing 40 of them, 50 of them, 100 of them, that type of thing?
Yeah, so there's about 45 in this chain, and it's actually franchised, but it can be dictated by
the back end's dictated, yeah, okay.
So I have the advantage or disadvantage of having spoken with you before and getting your monthly update, which is very well done, by the way. So I wasn't kind of coming in cold to your pitch, but I think you did do a good job of covering all the key points that you want to highlight in a 2-minute pitch. I guess the one thing which isn't necessarily obvious to me is how does this help your customers?
So from a user perspective or a merchant?
I mean, is the merchant making more? Do you have any data that they're making more money by virtue of having this app?
We have anecdotal data around retention in that there are customers that have uncomfortably said in front of me and the owner that they would typically go to Starbucks or Dunkin' if they're in a rush, and they'll only come to the local shop. In fact, it happened back here, and not just coffee. They'll only come here if they have some time, because there's often a line at a local shop like this. This is now allowing them to come back to the shop that they prefer rather than go for the speedy service, because it's now here. The other piece, the best testimonial I've ever received is from the manager here at Not Just Coffee, where they were actually concerned about interaction and engagement. A lot of local shops want to have conversations and get to know their customer, and this is actually, in her mind, increased engagement, because you're not waiting in a line staring at your phone anymore. You're waiting at the bar maybe for a couple of minutes while your drink is made, and you get to engage with the barista that's making it.
So, you're going after like the classic small business market, right? I mean, I got to imagine that the chain you just described that has 45 locations is by far the exception and not the rule with respect to how many, and it's franchised, right? So they can dictate. And you have a very low price point, right? So as you're aware, I think the challenge is going to be distribution and sales at a level that makes it economical, and but you have to have a product for that. In our experience, for that to work, you have to have a product that the customer knows they're looking for, right? So how are you working to skin that cat, so to speak?
Yep. So we've spent very little on multi-channel marketing, right? What we've done is created a welcome kit for our shops, and that attracts the early adopters of anything, right? So they're the ones who are like, okay, I would really benefit from this product. Again, Starbucks has done so much heavy lifting for us by validating the general workflow of it. And then we incent those early adopters to refer their friends and family. So our entire marketing budget is spent on a rewards program for them to save money, and then to invite users to our platform and start to engage it in different ways. So we haven't gone from a more traditional approach where we were plastering ads everywhere. It's more organic inside the shop, having the baristas talk about it, having signage and discounts available.
Well, that helps with getting users. How do you actually get the shop to adopt? How do you get the shop to know you're out there and exist?
We last year we were a freemium model. I don't know if you remember that. We were charging $0 for up to 20 transactions. That has since been nixed, naturally, and we do have a minimum fee now. So the idea behind the minimum fee, and what we'll pay very close attention to in Q1 here, is whether it incents that interaction, because they're paying at least $3 a month, and if it's only one transaction, that means I'm keeping your first transaction. You've made no money on that cup of coffee. So either promote it and start to increase the transactions, or cancel the service.
How do you make this into $1 billion? Right, you don't get to that size company at an average of, let's say, $15 a store in even this size market, right? So so if you were giving us a 40-minute pitch and you had time to speak more to the vision of what the product roadmap is, or where you go to extract more dollars from your customers, what does that look like?
Yeah, there are a number of different avenues. There's really two clear answers. First, it is product diversification. So we're actually about to roll out 2 new revenue streams in Q1. We've had an often requested merchant profile, so kind of a landing page in the app that we'll be able to monetize. We've also had a number of requests for online, like website integration for some reason, like ChowNow does. You can basically have an applet on your website branded as Cloosiv. But yeah, diversifying the product is a minimum requirement, right? Because we can't be averaging 15 per location. We need to be closer to 199, right? And the other piece of this, and the grand vision of Cloosiv and where it all started, was there's a silent wallet war going on right now. Most people assume that mobility will win with an Uber or a Lyft type of a product, using your phone to pay wherever you are. Having started in commerce, the vision for Cloosiv is to ultimately create that mechanism for payment wherever you are.
Aren't you then competing with your channel? I mean, isn't Square really hoping to go in the same direction?
They've actually tried multiple times and failed, and they will continue to fail because they have a capped market. There's no incentive for any other point of sale company to work with them. And to do that correctly, you need to be integrated across the board. And it has to work with NCR, with Oracle, all of those companies, which is why they've pivoted to a more platform-focused model and partnering with companies like us.
So how many different POS systems are you integrated with?
Yeah, we are integrated with about 6, I'll actually say, despite Clover is lagging on their side. But we have 6 point of sale integrations as it stands.
What percentage of this 55,000?
We've covered, that's 95% of the coffee. Oh yeah, so all the coffee shops either use Square, Revel, ShopKeep, or Clover.
So you ought to integrate that into your pitch.
Yeah.
Because that's a big deal. I mean, POS integrations, they're getting easier, but it's a barrier.
Yep.
And if you're already integrated with the 6 that cover 95% of that market, and so have you? Well, you're obviously talking to Square. Is Square requiring you to be exclusive with them from a standpoint of distribution versus if you went to Revel and tried to work out the same deal with them?
No, Square is actually, they were the first to react and got in early as our payment processor. So they're going to benefit from our product and are incented mutually. Yeah. So they want us to go around and partner with all them.
Any more questions?
Yes. I have one question. I don't know if I'm on or not. I guess, who acquires you? I think I know what you're going to answer this, but who would you think acquires you?
It really depends on how far we get from a market perspective. If we stay in coffee, there are plenty of different avenues from a roaster perspective, like a La Colombe, right? That they want to own the product at this point and they have the network. There's the obvious advertising component to this with the amount of data that we'd have around a daily habitual purchase, right? And what we can do with that information. But if it evolves more into a wallet focus, it just expands the exit opportunities, honestly. I think ad tech is really where it'd be focused because of the data across commerce. So it just depends.
Just like killed me. I was really excited until you told me that. We're in this space. So I guess I'm not a consumer guy. I mean, take John's feedback. We invest mainly in B2B stuff. But just if I was sitting with you for an hour, I would probably be suggesting or probing on, hey, how much does a coffee shop make? What are their margins? What's their budget? How long does the coffee shop stay in business with the stiff competition? If they're up and down every 18 months and cycling, what I'm saying? Like the failure rate's high. What happened in the last recession to coffee shops? I want to know what the data is on that.
He was in elementary school.
He was in elementary school. That's really well, my point is I think the bet here is that millennials and the generation behind them are probably the largest users of this. Okay, they've never.
Actually, sorry, it's 50-50 split.
Okay, well, even 50. Sure, so 50-50 split. 50% of them have never been through a recession, and they haven't. So what would they do? So I guess what I would want to be looking for stickiness, like in the investor, I can give you all the cheesy questions an investor would ask, but like what else is there? Does your model work outside of coffee shops? Other types of institutions through the same distributor channel partners? So you would have 2 or 3 channels, or if one was to have some issues, you would have reliable components there, and then or stickiness in terms of features. You mentioned the 2 enhancements, but what else? What else do now that you have line of sight and direct partnership with a coffee shop? What other needs do they need solved that they can't because they're not Starbucks or something like that? Mm-hmm. Could you grow into that and then
Yeah.
Just I know you probably already thinking all about all that, but just some suggestions for you.
We're taking the audience.
Yeah.
Audience, anyone got a question? Whoa.
Well, why do they?
So this was not, I actually pitched maybe 2 years ago almost. This started as something not entirely different. The vision has stayed the same, to be an inclusive network of commerce.
Any other questions? All right.
Thanks, Tim.